How you doing, Brian?
I'm doing well. How about yourself?
I'm doing alright. Alright, listeners, we're actually going to switch it up this time. In today's episode, it's going to be a spotlight interview on Brian Leifer.
Hello.
I think I messed up on saying spotlight. Spotlight interview, right?
Spotlight.
Yeah, spotlight.
You want to repeat it?
I just did. Anyways, we'll get started. So, Brian.
Yes.
Tell our listeners a little bit about yourself.
A little bit about myself. Well, there really isn't much to me. I am 23 years old. I currently attend UMBC. I'm studying media and communication studies.
Is there like a concentration? Like at Salisbury, I had a concentration in my major.
Yes. So at UMBC, you just take a few introductory courses, and after that, they give you just a giant list of sort of electives that you can take. And they suggest you take the ones that some things that like you are interested as a career for. So they have courses that are more tailored for people who want to do traditional journalism and like newspaper and how.
So it's like PR, mass media, journalism.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. So they do have concentrations.
Yeah, they're just not like officially baked into the program. They're just kind of up to you and what you want to take. So for me, obviously, I'm going to be taking a class on podcasting. And
he is our podcast director. The Enigma brand. Even though I screw up that introduction. Sorry about that, Brian.
It's okay. I'll be back next episode.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to be taking a course on podcasting. I am going to be taking stuff regarding sort of like media production. So like editing, script writing, all that good stuff.
Okay.
So yeah, that's what I'm doing at UMBC. Aside from that, personal hobbies. I just have one really, really big one, and that's gaming. I really love playing video games. I love talking about games. I love, just researching games. Learning about games, just the whole sort of culture of gaming I'm really interested in.
Okay.
Just everything in gaming kind of in my veins.
So I guess that'll lead us to the next question. Tell us a little background history about you. I guess, obviously, gaming is like a big part of your life.
Yeah, it is. So, background history. So, let me put this in a narrative, right? Starting from, 3 years old, that's, when I was introduced into gaming, right? Like, my parents bought me a Nintendo 64. I remember playing, Super Mario 64, 007 GoldenEye, a whole bunch of other stuff. Mario Kart.
So, the classics.
Yeah, these old N64 classics. I was playing these games before I can even read.
Okay.
And, that was, my main hobby. I did other stuff, too, growing up. I played the trumpet, played organized basketball. I wasn't too good, but, I was on some pretty solid teams.
Did you ever expect to reach 6 foot?
No. That dream was dead.
That dream was dead.
That dream was dead by the time I hit middle school. I was this ain't.
But you ever had that spur moment where you felt like you were going to hit 6 foot, or no?
I don't think I was ever more than medium sized for my age growing up. And then, like I said, by the time I hit 8th grade, everybody else around me started shooting up, and for some reason, I kind of just stopped growing. For the record, I am 5'5". Yeah, that dream died early.
Hey, we can't all be tall and have all the best attributes.
Yeah.
There's gonna be give and take in this world.
Yeah, I could try getting swole, but I mean that's all I can do.
Yeah, I hear that. I hear that. What are your goals in the near future?
Goals for the near future. Let's see now. So right now I'm still in school. Got a few more semesters left.
How many?
3, roughly.
So you expect to graduate 2020 or 2021?
Fall 2020.
Okay.
Expect on getting that degree.
Walk across that stage.
Yeah, that's the dream.
Yeah, right.
After that, I plan on probably looking for a job in either social media marketing or community management, preferably at a a gaming publisher or developer.
What companies? Like, can you give examples?
I think a big one for me is like ZeniMax.
ZeniMax?
ZeniMax, they own Bethesda. They're located in Rockville.
Okay.
You know, I actually have a friend who literally lives like 5 minutes away from, you know, their offices. And then, of course, Bethesda, which is a company that they own, they're also located in Maryland as well. And, you know, they're really big, and they always got a lot of positions open. I was actually just on their site earlier today looking at what they were offering. And lo and behold, a community manager right then and there, you know.
Nice.
It's something I'm preparing for. So that's definitely something I want to be doing, you know, as soon as I graduate. After that, I actually plan on taking acting classes.
So, that's interesting, because our next question was like, are there any dreams that you have, like, in the far future or the distant future?
So one thing that I've been thinking about a lot, like I said, you know, I plan on taking acting classes, and, you know, learning how to act because I want to become a voice actor.
So do you know the process of taking voice acting classes? Like, do you have to go to, like, a certain school, or do you have to get a certificate?
So,
like, how's that work?
There's a lot of ways you can go about it. As for, like, voice acting classes in particular are kind of few and far between. I know there's, like, a pretty, like, big school dedicated just to voice acting in San Fran.
Do you know what the school name is?
Not off the top of my head, but I've heard a lot about
we have
it.
Google right here. I mean, I can Google it right now. Keep talking about the school.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
yeah, so I've heard a lot about it. But for me, personally, I plan on probably just taking, you know, traditional acting classes. Because, I mean, voice acting, at the end of the day, is acting. Learning how to stage act translates well to voice acting.
do you have to do, like, a lot of, like, warm-ups? Like, you know how singers have to do warm-ups?
Yeah, vocal warm-ups.
Yeah. They moved their cheekbone. I was watching this YouTube video, and they were, like, moving their cheekbone side to side, sucking in and out.
Yeah, there's actors that do that. At the end of the day, it really just comes down to you just treating your voice well.
How do you do that?
Just avoid doing things that are really, like, taxed your vocal cords.
I heard you can't eat certain foods. Or they say, I'm being very vague, but you know what I mean.
I know there's certain foods that you eat that can help you. Like, I know eating apples before the recording session really helps kind of, like, minimize...
Do you know why, or just...
Yeah, it minimizes the saliva in your throat, in your mouth. So you know how people make this, like, certain sound sometimes when they're talking, like the...
Yeah.
Eating, like, an apple definitely helps minimize that and makes sure that your vocals come across clean and you don't have, like, all this, like, saliva in your mouth.
Okay.
Voice acting is just something that I've been really, really interested for a few years now. I'm really a big fan of, like, animation, and, you know, just having, like, people portray characters in animation is, like, I think is really, really cool.
Did you go out watching Dragon Ball Z?
Oh yeah, of course. Every kid our age.
I don't know every kid, but, like, I would say 95%.
Yeah,
like, I would say a high percentage of people, at least in America, watch Tsunami, Dragon Ball Z, all that. They probably still watch it to this day.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I'm 26. I'll catch a episode of Dragon Ball Z here and there. But...
Oh yeah, it's definitely nice. I was actually just recently rewatching it. That's a funny thing too.
Okay.
Like, I was just, like, bored one night. And I was like, you know what? Let me rewatch Dragon Ball Z.
It's a classic.
Yeah, it's because, like, it's got, like, this nostalgia for me, right? Like, whenever I watch an episode of DBZ, I'm always brought back to this, you know, this time period, you know, when I was in, like, elementary school. And, you know, you didn't really have too many worries. You know, you just kind of went to school, sat in class, came home, and just turned on the TV and just tuned out. And
what was the channel? Was it like 58 Cartoon Network or 59?
I think it depended on your region, but I specifically remember 58.
We're actually in Maryland.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it always matters about cable
Comcast,
box.
I remember Comcast, it was on 58.
Yeah.
Channel 58, it would be like, Toonami would usually start at, like, I think 5 o'clock in the afternoon.
Exactly.
And go to, like, 8. And
then Adult Swim came on like 9 or 10 o'clock.
Yeah. Ooh, those were the days. Yeah.
But just going back to the voice acting classes, I'm looking it up right now on Yelp, and the top 3 are Voice One. It's actually in San Francisco, and then Sherry Carlson's studio, and Leela.
Yeah, I'm not.
Have you heard of any of them?
No, none of them really ring a bell.
Okay.
I just know that there is this one particular school in San Fran that a lot of people in the industry come to teach workshops in. Because I listen to a podcast dedicated to voice acting. It's called Voice Acting Mastery. It's hosted by Crispin Freeman. And
Crispin Freeman.
Crispin Freeman. Yeah,
Oh,
he's
man. Crispin. Imagine growing up being named Crispin. Like, I can't even laugh. My name's Prince, but you know what I mean? Like, Crispin.
Yeah, it's a very distinct name.
Exactly. And,
no,
but I love unique names just because I have one. So yeah.
Yeah, and in the podcast, he would talk about how he would teach these workshops at this school in San Fran, and how a lot of people who attended those classes would go on to make names for themselves. And he would even bring them on to the podcast and, talk to them directly. And it was always funny hearing him say, it's like, yeah, I remember meeting you in my workshop. Now you got all these bodies of work behind you. You're getting
content and getting contracts with studios and stuff like that.
Yeah. Getting agents and stuff like that.
And it's hard out there in California.
Oh, definitely. Oh my God.
So
LA
many people.
Yeah, it's hard to book because they have like this system in the way they kind of book people. So to put it in like really simplified terms, right? LA and New York are both very well known for their sort of acting sort of fields. But the way they go about them is very different. New York is really, really big into this stage because obviously you have Broadway. In LA, it's all about on camera. And
exactly.
Acting on stage,
reality TV too. Yeah,
acting on stage and acting on camera require very, very different things.
They're very distinctive skills. Okay.
And so like booking in LA, they have like this sort of mold that they look for in actors. And if you're somebody who's coming off of like Broadway and you do things like really, really differently than a lot of people,
well, it's more superficial because you're like a lot of Broadway is musical.
Yeah, but you also have straight plays.
I know you do, no doubt. But like a lot of it's musical related. Like even in straight plays, there's some musical parts in those straight plays.
Sometimes,
so, So it's just like when you come to California, they want more like reality TV, more down to earth television. Well, not television, but like social media. Now it's not television.
I think what it really comes down to, right, between the stage and on camera, is that when you're on the stage, there's things you have to do that really sort of like emphasizes your acting. Because, you're speaking to an audience and,
you have to project your voice.
Yeah, you got to project your voice. You got to project your movements and all that stuff. Versus being on camera, you have to actually act really, really natural. All the way down to even just like, the slightest like sort of expression you have in your face has to come off as natural as possible. And going back to what I was saying earlier about, what LA agents look for in booking is that... if you're really, really different, like I said, if you're coming from Broadway and to LA looking, for on-camera gigs, if you have like this really unique skill set, it actually works against you because a lot of casting directors don't really know what to do with you. They don't really know how to make the most out of your talent. I heard about how one of the leads from like the Lion King musical came to LA, trying to book for on-camera gigs. And, he was having trouble because they just didn't know what to do with him. Why?
Like, he could play many roles, or...
It's just like he didn't really fit, like, any sort of predefined molds casting directors look for in LA.
So what do you define predefined molds?
Like
that sounds
they want
vague.
they want the hard-boiled actor that can play like the detective, or that you have like the nerd who plays like in like these high school dramas, or
the disorderly like junkie that could play like what Kendrick Lamar's role in Power, something like that.
Yeah, something like that.
Okay,
just something that you can see from like an audition. It's like, okay, I can perfectly see you playing as this kind of character in this kind of film.
Okay,
but like I said, if you're coming off of like Broadway from like the Lion King musical, like I was saying, like, and it's just difficult.
It's very flashy.
Yeah,
that musical. Like, I actually saw the musical before. Like let's say 6 years ago now.
Yeah, and it was probably like nothing like you've ever seen before.
No,
right?
It's just very bright, flashy. It's over exaggerated. Cause I already watched the Lion King cartoon.
Yeah.
We're gonna switch gears a little bit and talk about when we started talking about the podcast. It was just like 2 months ago, May-ish. We're almost in July, so I guess it's almost 2 months, like over a month and a half.
Well, I remember you initially approached me for the idea way back in like I think
April,
may have even been March.
Maybe. I don't know.
I know it was months ago.
Yeah, I've been on a roll. So yeah. But anyways, I noticed that you were into this type of media platform, podcasting, and I felt like this is an opportunity I could give you, and you were interested. So please tell our listeners what sparked your interest in being in podcasts.
In podcasts in particular? So it kind of stems from,
podcasts, yeah.
Yeah, it stems from my desire to, be into voiceover. Being on a podcast, it's like you have like this message that, you want to like spread, through like a listener base. Mm-hmm. And, just also, the joy of like having people on and, talking with them, interviewing them, just kind of conducting a conversation I thought was, really cool, unique. I also like kind of how grassroots podcasts are.
Grassroots?
Yeah.
Just because I don't know what grassroots podcasts are.
Basically means like, like the Drake saying, started from the bottom.
So.
Like, okay. As like I say that, we're recording in like a closet. And, this is exactly what I mean, like,
Cat's out the bag. Cat's out the bag. We're in the closet right now.
At least it's a walk-in closet.
Yeah, that is true. That's true. But I didn't think we are going to spill that bean until, like, episode 5. But it's all good. It's all good.
Yeah, but I mean, just, how personal podcasts can be and, in how you, like, spread your message. All it takes, people with an idea and just a microphone coming together and, recording a show. You know what I mean?
Just
like
talking about life. Like, I mean, we try to edit out the ums and, like, the awkward dead space. But other than that, we try to be as, like, organic and natural as possible. Yeah, just catching up and talking about life.
Yeah, we're just two guys sitting in here having a conversation. Versus, like, putting something together, that requires, like, a camera and all that stuff. And it requires an excessive amount of editing and, camera skills with, like, directing.
Well, just to clarify, we do plan on, like, filming our podcast in the near future. But he's talking about, like, being on camera.
Yeah, I'm talking recording, like, an actual, like, sort of YouTube TV show.
Yeah, okay, yeah, exactly. It requires a little bit more effort in editing and, directing. Mm-hmm. As opposed to podcasting where it's more free-flow conversation and just trying to shed light on topics. Yeah. So, hopefully it's not a redundant question, but maybe you can give us, like, a little bit more in depth as to what inspires you to become a voice actor. We know that that's your goal now, but, like, we don't know what's the core reason why you want to be a voice actor?
I think it all kind of stems from this desire. I think two things. Number one is, like, I want to entertain, and I think that's, like, at the core of, like, every sort of, like, actor's, like, motives. Like, at the end of the day, like, they're entertainers. Like, they like to entertain people.
Are you not entertained?
Are you not entertained? And I think number two is just kind of like the joy of playing pretend.
What do you mean by pretend?
So,
it's
like,
real out here, Brian. We ain't playing pretend.
So, like, an actor's job at the end of the day is to play pretend so well that you're sold you're sold on their character, that you believe that they are, like, who they are acting to be. And, voice acting in particular really excels at that because you're not on camera. You're just lending your voice.
So who do you think is, like, a very talented voice actor? I already have one in my brain, but I want to hear your...
There's a lot of them.
No. Top 3.
Top 3? We
only got all that time.
So the first one that popped in my head is Keith David.
Keith David. All right, what are some?
You may have known him. He played, like, the rich dad in ATL.
Oh, okay.
And he also does a lot of voice acting work, right? The first time I ever heard him voice act was in Halo 2 when he played the Arbiter. and he had this indistinguishable deep voice.
It's always the deep voice that you can't you always remember.
He also plays Martian the Manhunter in Justice League often a lot, and he just has, like I said, he has this very like distinct voice that's very like commanding, and like just right away you know it's him. Another one that comes to my head, probably Crispin Freeman, the guy I listen to.
Starring?
So he's been in a lot of work. He does a lot of anime, a lot of animation, but he also does commercials and promos. One particular role I really liked him in. I'm going into deep my anime knowledge here. In the series, the Fate series, Fate Stay Night, and then also the prequel Fate Zero. He played the Inquisitor.
So there's like gaming voice actors.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people who do gaming also do, animation.
I'm not saying they're just like restricted in gaming, but like I guess you've noticed it more through gaming voice acting than through films. That's what it sounds like. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know.
It all depends.
Okay.
It all depends. It just happens where I catch them first. But I mean, there's a lot of crossover.
Okay.
Because I mean, it's all in LA.
It's what gig you can get.
Like,
it's expensive in LA. Like I was just there. I was at the Comedy Store. Saw all these famous people. And we got cracked on. Me and my sister. Shout out Vanessa. Love you, Dimples. Anyways, go ahead.
Third one. Boy. I want to pick a different one. Steve Bloom. He's also done a lot of work in like video games and animation. My all-time favorite role he's played though was actually like his first role, or at least his breakout role.
He's from South Africa. Or maybe that's the wrong. No, that's a writer. Steve Bloom, voice actor. Let's check it out.
His breakout role was Spike.
Blum.
Yeah, he was Spike Spiegel in Cowboy Bebop.
Okay.
And he can do a lot of voices. He's a very...
Whoa. Was he Tom?
Yes.
You can't just leave that out, Brian. You gotta.
I was getting to that.
You're taking too long. Our listeners want to hear the facts. They want to hear the facts. You got to give it to them, baby. Come on.
Yeah, but he does a lot of different voices. But
okay. Was he Wolverine?
Yeah, he also does Wolverine.
Okay.
He does Wolverine a lot.
He did Star Wars. You said Cowboy Bebop.
He's got over like 300 credits to his name.
Dang.
He does a lot.
Yeah, he works. I mean, he's in his 60 or almost 60.
Yeah,
so, makes sense.
He, like I said, he does a lot of different voices. What I really like about his role as Spike was he really nails this kind of smooth guy sort of voice. To anybody listening who has like watched Cowboy Bebop, you know right away like Spike is like this very chill, laid back, but still gets down to business. And Steve really brought that out in that character. I'd say, like that's definitely like one of my favorite roles that I've seen anybody play. It was a huge inspiration for me, it really opened my eyes up to voice acting, the potential you have to be as a voice actor. So yeah, those are my three.
Okay. Well, I think we're gonna start going to our closing up the podcast. So this is our final question. What advice, recommendation, books, or anything that our listeners can take away from this episode of the podcast?
So I have one, I'd say, pretty important message for any listeners out there that may be kind of struggling to find their footing. Say, like, you're in school, but you don't really know what you want to do afterwards, or you just kind of out working and you want something more for yourself, but don't really know where to look. I've changed my major 5 times throughout my school career. I started out as chemistry, went to chemical engineering, then to computer science, then to information systems. And honestly, I didn't really know where I was going. I had really no idea on what I wanted to do for a living. I was kind of just sticking with school because, that's just like the thing to do now. Because, if you're not in school, your options are limited. But, when you're in school, if you don't really have a clear idea on what you want to do, you tend to struggle a lot. And that's definitely what happened to me. No, I feel like no matter what I was trying, nothing was really working. And it almost came to the point where I was thinking about leaving school and just starting from scratch. Thankfully, my school has a lot of awesome career advisors who really took the time out of their day to really help me figure out, what it was that I really wanted. And ironically enough, I kind of came back to what I originally envisioned myself doing from, like 7 years ago. And that was, getting into something media related, analyzing media, creating media.
Content.
Yeah.
Creating content. Okay.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And ever since then, I've been feeling incredible. I can't wait to go back to school in the fall. I've been doing, a lot of side projects. I've been doing self-studying, studying media literacy right now on my own before, I even set foot in that class in the fall.
Oh, so you're taking the initiative.
Yeah. Okay. Honestly, you just gotta, see, and this is the hard part, right? It's hard to sort of direct somebody into, like, the quote-unquote correct direction. You kind of have to talk to a lot of people, and do some soul searching in order to really discover what it is you're truly passionate about. And honestly, in my opinion, the perfect job is finding something you're passionate about and, turning that into a job to a certain degree. And yeah, that's what I think, our listeners should really look into, whoever might be in that position right now.
Okay. No, I really enjoyed this. Did you enjoy yourself, Brian?
Yeah. Okay, it's been a good time.
Yeah. Like, we got to dive deep into Brian Leifer's life and understanding where he's coming from before we take off with our podcast. Mm-hmm. So, for our listeners, thank you for listening. We plan on coming on next time. I'm Prince Atameo.
I'm Brian Leifer. You can catch me on Twitter at Brian D. Leifer. That's BrianDLeifer. You want to plug in your Twitter while we're at it?
Yeah, you can catch me at Twitter at Nigma, NIGMA _RM_. All right, guys, we're signing off. N.Cast out.
Peace.